Welcome to the Content Podcast, conversations with Silicon Valley's creatives. I'm Daniel Garcia, your host and the cultivator of Content Magazine, published by SV Creates. This episode of the Content Magazine podcast is brought to you by Bonfire, a Silicon Valley digital agency building elevated websites for ambitious brands. Find out more about Bonfire at bonfire.com.
Hello?
Today we talk with Maryela Perez. She's a curator and the program manager at MACLA, as well as a DJ and a visual artist. Hey Maryela, this is Daniel. How you doing?
Good. How are you? How's it going?
I'm doing all right. The first thing I have to say is I'm not sure. I don't think we've actually met, shook hands and say hello. I think I've seen you around some events, but have we actually met in person?
I don't think so. No, I've definitely been at events that you've either hosted, and I remember, I think during one of our auctions at MACLA, you graciously donated a series of photos to us as well. And I believe you either visited or I've seen you in the gallery at some point or another, but I don't think we've ever formally met.
Yeah, I know. I know that I've seen you around, but I don't think we've actually met face to face. But I guess in this world that we're in now, there's a lot of people we don't see in person, which I wanted to ask you that. I mean, your credentials or what you do. I mean, from being an artist and a curator and a DJ, and also helping with different events and organizing events. I mean, that's very much, MACLA and the museum is very much kind of dependent on people and spaces and, music and parties, right? So how has this last year been for you, especially if, DJing is a bit of a performance in some ways? How has it been for you just kind of emotionally and professionally?
Yeah, I mean, the first few months, I would say were kind of, because I was so used to just always being on the go, whether it was, with MACLA, having, events at our space or with DJing. I was just used to just being busy and having either four gigs a week, just always doing something. And so when the pandemic hit, everything just kind of was at a standby. And that first month or two was really tough for me. I was almost numb to just everything that was happening. And it was also really scary because it just, the way that it affected everyone and just the ecosystem in general was really, it was really hard to grapple with. But I would say around summer or late summer, which was a few months after, or into it, I would say, it started, I started collaborating with one of my best friends, because I really just miss, working on projects and collaborating with friends. And since then, obviously taking it way slower than I was before, it feels like I'm once again aligned with the type of work that I enjoy doing. A lot of it now is virtual, of course, but it definitely feels like some kind of remedy, I guess, to the current state of the world.
Yeah. So when you say that, the type of work that you enjoy doing, what would be because you do several different things, and we'll talk about those as we go on. But what would you say is your breakdown? What would be the first thing that you enjoy doing, the second thing, the third thing, as far as all your different kind of artistic expressions?
Yeah, I mean, I personally just really enjoy working with artists. Within the MACLA space, that means getting folks paid to be able to create art and then having them use their platform to do that. But outside of MACLA, that means, as a DJ, I'm a part of Chulita Vinyl Club. I'm part of a few collectives. I'm also a part of Sonido Clash, which is in San Jose or from San Jose, I should say. And within those two collectives, a lot of what happens, or the magic that happens within them, is putting together cultural events for our community and really encouraging folks to just come together and enjoy space and dance and music. And so, I guess that's something that I still to this day really enjoy doing. Just because I feel like everyone is creative in different ways. And so I really enjoy just being able to be in that creative space with people, even if it means, even if it's outside of just, general art and music, if it means like cooking a meal with a friend. I feel like that's a
Yeah.
creative thing that folks often like don't even realize they're being creative when they're doing that. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. So what was your kind of more your what was the first kind of like entry into kind of art? Was it first kind of through music, or was it more through your own kind of like artwork, or was it more in the idea of curating, or how did that come about in your life?
So this it came about. It was probably like early summer 2015. I had just moved into a house with two of my best friends in San Jose, close to downtown. Um, and it was like this beautiful house, had a bunch of space in it, and we had a lot of wall space. And we decided to just, open it up to our friends. We had a group of friends that were like super creative, and we were
Yeah.
kind of like, hey, like, would you guys be interested in putting up your artwork on our walls? Basically, we'll throw an art show. We'll invite some our friends that play music,
Huh.
um, and then yeah, we'll just have it open to whoever wants to come and check out the art. And that ended up being a series that was happening for, I would say, for like like about 2 or 3 years. We were doing that, but that was essentially like what propelled me into just really wanting to continue to do this work. Because at the time I was studying to become an urban planner. I was doing my
Okay.
master's degree at San Jose State, and then it was kind of like a switch went off. Like as soon as we started doing those events, I was just kind of like, this is all I want to do. Like I actually don't want to be an urban planner.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. Well, the funny thing is that I've seen a number of people actually move from either kind of like urban planning or even like kind of like politics or something along those lines, and move more into kind of like the art community, and then either being like event organizers, or do you know what I mean, or curators or something like that. Because I mean, like, the community that actually comes around for art
Hmm.
in some ways shapes the city more than politics and government, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So now, okay, so you're a part of Chulista Vinyl Club and also Sonita Class. So have you been, I mean, have you had a love for music and a vinyl collection starting out as, a little chica where you're running around school and stuff like that? Or was it, kind of a newer endeavor?
Yeah, when I joined Cholita Vinyl Club, I had like records at that time. I had been taught how to DJ by one of my friends. He goes by Filthy Jones. His name's Matt. He's
Oh, yeah.
he's pretty much a staple in San Jose, I would say.
Yeah, totally. Matt
Um,
Gonzalez.
but yeah, at the time, he taught me how to DJ. The way that he knows how to DJ was just through producing, and I didn't realize this at the time because I didn't know anything about music. Um, and I had like some records that I had been collecting, but it was one of those things where it's like I would go to record stores and be like, "Oh, this seems like it's cool," and it's like $1, like I'll buy it. And so um, it wasn't with the intention of like playing it, I guess, in front of folks. And even
Yeah.
like being taught how to DJ was never with that intention, but I was really like propelled by the community itself. Like I had met the guys from Sonido Clash, and they had heard
Mm.
that I was like learning how to DJ, and they kind of were like, okay, that like you're gonna play at the next Selena event, which at the time was like their second one, I think, that they were doing.
Yeah,
And
cool.
it kind of felt like I didn't have a choice, but and I also was kind of like, okay, like this will be a good challenge, and it'll keep me accountable to learning this new craft. And yeah, after that, it kind of there was like no turning back for some reason, and I never really wanted to turn back to there. Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. That's kind of interesting. I mean, your story is kind of interesting because, like, even, like having the house and you put up kind of like you ask friends to put up artwork, and then kind of playing around to learn how to, DJ. And it seems, yeah, I mean, it seems like your life kind of really changed its direction. I mean, if you're
Hmm.
doing, grad school at San Jose State for planning, and then, yeah, that's kind of interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it was at one of those events that we hosted at our house that I asked Matt if he could teach me how to DJ. So yeah, it was kind of like this like weird catalyst into my current just life, which I feel like I live within art itself, and which I feel so lucky that that's even a thing.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Yeah. So what's if you're like spinning some records, what's something that you kind of always come back to? What's one of your favorite albums or records or even songs, you know? I know it's hard to pick out of everything, but what's something that really is like a staple for you?
Yeah, that is really hard. But one of them that's I guess it's been like a staple throughout these all of these years has been the Roots of Chicha, which is like Peruvian psychedelic cumbia
Oh,
from the
cool.
70s. It's so good. The whole album is really really good and it's super trippy and you could tell that it was made in the 70s and there's like hints of like sitar in there. It's super cool. Yeah, that's one that I always
That,
end up playing at a gig or something.
yeah, that sounds really cool. I'm gonna have to check it out. I'll have to see if
Yeah.
it's on Spotify or somewhere.
Yeah, it's on Spotify for sure.
Yeah, yeah, cool. So then now, Chulita Vinyl Club, that actually started more in like San Antonio, I think, right? Wasn't it in Texas it began and then it kind of morphed out? How did you get connected? Was it in San Antonio? I know it was in Texas.
Yeah, I believe the first chapter they did was in Austin, but then they also had a few others. I know they have a San Antonio chapter, and then there's one like in deep Texas too. They have a few chapters within Texas. Um, but I got connected to them through Claudia, who is their founder, or who is truly
Yeah.
the founder. She moved to San Jose. It was I think that was either 2016, I believe. Um, And but we had met at that first gig that I ever did, the Selena one that Sonia
Oh,
the Cloud
cool.
had asked me to play. They had flown her out because at the time I think Shalita Manukul had just like it. They pretty much had they were just they were everywhere. They were just kind of like they were being introduced to the world, I would say. Um, and so we had met through there, and then we just had been in contact through like social media. And when I heard that she was gonna be moving to San Jose, I was like, let's collaborate on something. And at the time, I had been asked to do a night at the Caravan, which I wasn't familiar with the Caravan back
Yeah.
then. But I kept hearing like, oh yeah, it's a pretty like grungy bar, like it's like a biker
Yeah, it's
bar.
cool.
And I was like, well, they're asking me to do a night. I usually play cumbia, so I'm gonna keep playing cumbia.
Yeah.
And um, so yeah, I asked Claudia to come on as a resident for that night, and so we were doing it monthly. And then during that course, like at some point, she was like, "Yeah, you should join like Julita Vinyl Club. I know you play vinyl too." So yeah, that's kind of how it happened. And those that first year of us just doing that, it was a night called Baila Mela that we would do every month. It was
Cool.
always so cool because I feel like the people that were in there usually were like older, older,
Yeah.
just like men. And so we would come
Yeah.
in, like, would bring a totally different crowd into the space and would just like dance and, just play music that I don't think anyone anywhere around San Jose was playing. I mean, aside from like Sonido Clash that had other monthly events, but
Yeah. Yeah. It's kind of fun. I mean, that's the kind of fun thing about the Caravan because it's technically probably considered a dive bar, right?
mm-hmm.
But the crowd can be so eclectic and cool, you know. It's kind of fun, yeah.
Yeah.
So now, okay, so then I mean, it's kind of I'm fascinated. I'm really fascinated that how like a number of these things just kind of like stumble. Like you had the art kind of events at your house, and then Matt was there. You asked him about a DJ, and then he asked you to be a part of the Selena thing, and then you met Claudia at that. I mean, it's like you're like the luckiest person who's bumping into things to shape your life. It's kind of cool.
No, yeah, definitely. I definitely feel like there's some kind of serendipity that's played a huge role into just the way everything's played out. Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. So then now your like main gig, I imagine, or role is with being a curator at MACLA, right? I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's kind of like the day job, if you will, or whatever. Um, so then, how did that come about? How did you? Because you've been there for is it like 2-ish years or?
Yeah, it's about I would say like 2.5 now.
Yeah,
Let's say 2019, 2018, one of those years.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, at the time I was working in housing. I had been working in housing probably for like the past 5 years, and
Hmm.
I saw that they were
Like in what capacity? Like in the housing department at? the city or with a nonprofit?
No, I was doing like community development with Catholic Charities for a while, like working with
Okay.
neighborhood associations. And then after that, I was at the YWCA doing rapid rehousing with them.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
so,
Cool.
helping survivors find housing through just the rapid rehousing programs, which
Yeah.
was like it was necessary work, but it was also super draining. And
Yeah.
yeah, folks that work within that realm, I give them props because it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I knew like in my heart, I'm like I want to do something creative, and I saw that they were hiring for that MACLA was hiring for a visual arts coordinator, and I applied knowing that I didn't really have any like technical, I guess, criteria. Like I didn't go to grad school for or like school for
Curation,
for
gallery curationology,
or like I hadn't, yeah, I didn't really have a background, but I interviewed with Angie and Letitia, who at the time was still there, and I was just really honest. I was like, at the end of the day, like one of my passions is to be able to offer up space and a platform for folks that might not otherwise have it, especially like within the arts.
yeah.
Um, and I think, my work in putting together like music events really translated into that. And then I also like really shared with them like the work that we were doing out of our house. And I think like at the like pretty like not too far behind where earlier on in the year I had put a show, an art show together at Social Policy, which was still open at the time. It was like an all women's art show, and so there was just like a lot of work I guess that I was doing behind the scenes, and
Yeah.
I was super lucky that Angie and Letitia really saw that, at the end of the day, even if I didn't have like technical training, like my intentions
Yeah. Yeah.
for curation were, or my passion for curation was really there. And they ended up asking me to come back for a second interview that same day. And I pretty much just got like hired on the spot, which is super,
Yeah,
I'm
that's
telling you,
cool.
it is definitely like a lot of serendipity, a lot of good karma that's being cashed out or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's cool. So then, okay, and so your role is it's not necessarily is it a curator or is it a visual engagement coordinator? What's the title, and then what exactly do you do?
So when I got hired on, I was as a visual arts coordinator, which at the time was just me, putting together 4 exhibitions for the year, and also any other like engagement projects that we had with like visual artists. But
Mhm.
over the
So
last
like
year,
in the black box area, you would kind of like organize what was going to happen in there or something like that, or
no,
as
for the
well.
black box, we had a performance person, a person that was in
Okay.
charge of performing arts. But over the last year, they transitioned out of that position. And I talked to Angie and I was like, I'm doing this kind of work outside on my own. Like I have connections to a lot of musicians just within my network and also just, within the area and even
Yeah.
outside of the area. Like you should, I was pretty much like, you should hire me to do this work too. Um, and yeah, she was like, yeah, let's do it. Let's hire you on as a main curator. And which was, yeah, even that part, I'm like, okay, that's it's one of those things where like I shot my shot and it ended up going in. And
You don't know if you don't try, though, right? Yeah. Yeah.
so yeah, so at this point I'm in charge of all of the artistic programming that happens at MACLA, which right now that looks like, this is our first year doing a fellowship, an artist fellowship. So we were able to award 10 artists within the Bay Area community to commission them to, create some kind of work over
Yeah.
the next 6 months. And so a lot of
Yeah.
artists
Cool.
are like early in their projects right now, but we'll be showcasing some of that work within the next few months.
That's awesome. Who's some of those artists that you guys have
So we
asked on?
have Yosimar Reyes, who is based out of San Jose. He's a poet and a writer. We also have Dignidad Rebelde, who's Melanie Cervantes and Jesus Barraza, and they do screen printing and
Hmm.
they're visual artists. We have Ivan Flores, who's a cumbia
Hmm.
musician, also based out of San Jose.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we were really trying to just be supportive of the artists. I think, especially right now, for a lot of folks that were primarily just working as working artists, this pandemic has
Yeah.
definitely hit them, and so just wanting to support folks to be able to still create work and not necessarily have to worry about money, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough times. Yeah. So then, okay. So then, are you also, I guess, curating some of the other exhibits that'll be coming up in the next year, 2 years or so, or
Hmm.
how's that been going during the last year, organizing, getting those things going?
Yeah, so for the a lot of, I mean, it's been interesting to plan it, to try to plan ahead, because
Yeah.
right now we're applying for a lot of just for a lot of grants and co-commissions to, have other folks come and perform at MACLA. And the timelines are kind of, they're not like super set, because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, even though things are a little bit better now, and folks are able to at least congregate a little bit more, we're still like kind of in a pandemic, and folks are still worried about the new variants and all this and that. But even then, like, seeing the type of work that's being created and that's being presented as an option for the future has been really great. And I'm glad that folks are still, making art even through these times.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have something? What's a exhibition that you're kind of curating and working on now that's coming up in the future that
Yeah,
you're
right now
excited
we're
about?
working on, there's an artist, her name is Natalia Anciso. She lives in Oakland, but she's originally from Texas, and she's going to be having a solo exhibition at MACLA. I think we're looking at either June or July to have her, be able to come
Yeah.
in and install. Like I said, a lot of these timelines are a little bit. We're trying to be
Yeah.
as
Totally.
flexible as we can to folks. But she's going to be having a solo exhibition, and her solo exhibition is going to be focusing on, um, looking at what's happening at the border, and also the family separations
Yeah.
that have
Yeah.
been going on for, like, I mean, all these years. And that was like her original project, and that we had planned like about 2 years ago. But over the course of the last few months, she's also incorporated the work and wanting to honor um, folks that work like within the realm of like service work, so within like food industry and cleaning, and pretty much like the backbone, I think, of our society. And so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
really excited for her to just be able to show her work. A lot of her work is, she does a lot of really like intricate like embroideries, but she's also, I think, this time trying to might do something a little bit bigger, like a bigger installation within our gallery. So I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to see what that's gonna look like.
Yeah. That sounds really cool. Now, so then, where did you grow up? Because I know you. I think you went to school. You went to college in Santa Cruz, and then were here for your master's. It sounded like, or where? So where did you grow up? Did you grow up here in San Jose, or?
No, I grew up in Modesto in the Central
Okay.
Valley,
Yeah.
and then I was there up until I transferred to go to UC Santa Cruz, which was 2010, I believe. Yeah, and but yeah, that's where most of my family still is. I would say like 95% of my family is still in Modesto.
Yeah. 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 And so then, so it was grad school that brought you back, or brought you into San Jose, and set you on this trajectory that you're on now.
Yeah, well, I originally came to San Jose because after I graduated from Santa Cruz, I was just trying to see, like, because I studied literature, so I was like, okay, how can
Oh,
I make myself look like a good candidate for to be an urban planner? So I was just trying to do whatever work I could to, add to my resume. And
yeah.
I got into this AmeriCorps program called Public Allies, and I ended up getting an internship with the Parks and Rec department
Oh, cool.
in San Jose. And then that's what ended up bringing me to San Jose. And yeah, I never left after that, essentially. Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of cool. So have you always been kind of the person to kind of make things happen? Because like even just listening to your story, you know what I mean? Like you even said like you were just looking for opportunities to build your resume. Have you always been like a person who like has an idea and then makes it happen and moves things around and organizes and networks? Is that kind of always been kind of like your personality?
Yeah, I would say so. It's one of those things where it's like I don't know how to not do anything. Like, I feel like quarantine was probably like the most that I've kind of just sat and watched TV. But even then, I was still, doing
Yeah.
a lot of things. And I know I was talking to one of my friends recently about, thinking back of when I was in junior college. I was working like 2 or 3 jobs, and then I also had like a full-time schedule, just trying to like stay busy and also just,
Yeah.
save money and to be able to just be good in the future for when I move to Santa Cruz. So
Yeah, yeah. So like even like in high school, were you the friend like people were kind of like hanging out and you're like, hey, let's go do this. What do you like that kind of thing?
yeah, I mean, yeah. I In high
Yeah,
school I wrote for like the school newspaper, I played soccer.
yeah,
Um and yeah, my friends and I would like hang out at there was a park that was adjacent to our high school, and we'd like after school we'd like go and like roll down hills. I feel like yeah, I was always just doing something.
yeah,
And even still, like my mom always makes fun of me. She's like, "Yeah, you don't know how to like just stay still and just enjoy like your time off." I'm either like going 100 miles an hour or like I'm sitting on the couch, which I don't really like to
yeah,
watch.
yeah. You know, it's funny though. Like, I'm kind of the same way. I'm like 100% into doing all these kind of stuff, and then or I'm completely shut down. You know what I mean? It's funny. I talked to
Mhm.
some other folks who are kind of people who make things happen, and it seems like maybe that's kind of like the way it is. Like you go, you do all this kind of stuff, and then it's like my wife. I feel like she's way more kind of like I don't know, even. You know what I mean? She's
Mhm.
giving equal, consistent energy to a lot of different things and managing them all. And I'm kind of like all in on something, and then okay, I'm done. I crash. I'm done. Are you kind of like that, or?
Yeah, definitely. Like, like over, especially, I think I've noticed that my fire starts burning out after like 5 or 6. No, after 6 p.m. I'm just like, okay, I need to turn off my brain now. Whenever someone
Yeah,
wants to meet at like 7, I'm like, oh, this is really pushing it because I'm like not. My brain is like fried at this point because I've been just up since 7, just doing things. Oh, excuse me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's funny. So, do you have? Would you say like you have something like a mission statement for your life, or like a idea, philosophy that motivates you or drives you, that kind of like guides you?
Yeah, I guess just reminding folks of that we can all be creative in whatever means. I think that's something that's always been a really big thing for me.
Hmm.
And that mostly comes from having grown up not feeling like I was a creative. Even when people would point it out, I would just kind of be like, no, like I don't know what you're talking about. Like I'm not
Hmm.
artistic, or I'm not this or that. um and then I guess the other part is just really trying to capture some kind of humanity within the work that I do.
Yeah.
And so like recently that's kind of looked like I started this new podcast. It's like a podcast slash like streaming radio thing. It's on Twitch. I usually stream it on Twitch. It's called Dear
Yeah.
DJ,
Yeah.
where I have people like are able to call in for like questions that they need advice or that they just need advice on,
Yeah.
and I'll answer them on air. I'll do research on them, and that kind of came from the need of like just during quarantine feeling really isolated from people and really missing that connection and feeling like folks were kind of feeling the same way,
Yeah.
and wanting to extend myself as a friend even if I didn't know people.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Kind of. Yeah. So, what's an interesting question that you got on Dear DJ? What's something that someone said?
There's two that come to mind. The first one, someone asked me for ideas on how to propose to their girlfriend.
That's cool.
And I was like, wow, that's so sweet, and like I just felt so honored that that was even a question
Yeah.
that they asked me.
Yeah. Yeah.
um And then the one from this past week that I thought was pretty controversial, was, is a hot dog a sandwich?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
People were upset about that.
Yeah. People get heated over that.
Yeah, I would ask
So,
like just like friends in passing, or just I was texting a few friends, like just trying to like get a feel for the what the general consensus was, and everyone was either like super passionate that it was, or that it totally wasn't. And yeah, it was fun to just be able to just dive into that and do some research on what the potential answer for that is.
so, is there an answer to that question? Is there like a technical, scientific, proven answer that either it's a sandwich or what would be the other thing? A sandwich or a
That's the
Well,
thing. Like,
if it's on,
there's a few things. Like, according to the dictionary, to Merriam-Webster, it is a sandwich
okay.
because it's like it's a meat inside of a sliced roll, and that's considered a sandwich according to the dictionary.
Yeah.
Um, but then you have this other thing called the cube rule, which pretty much like the cube itself is consistent of like the starch or the bread, and so according to that rule, hot dog is a taco.
A taco. Okay.
So it's kind of like, I don't know. It's one of those things where it's like you kind of just have to decide for yourself. I personally think it's a sandwich. It's a hot take,
I
but
get so a taco though. That's kind of interesting because you see that you go to you know like I go to like a Chinese restaurant and they do like these lettuce taco things. So I guess is taco technically a term for a kind of like folded thing, or is a taco actually like a tortilla? I always thought taco was tortilla.
well,
So now this is
that's where the cube
controversy.
rule is not very reliable because they also say like according to the cube rule, pumpkin pie is toast.
Yeah. Okay, they're out.
Yeah, so it's kind of like kind of
they
like
lost they lost their credibility.
exactly
It's a sandwich. I mean, come on. If Webster says it, then it has to be.
right. That's what I'm saying. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So, in this last year, what would you say you've learned about yourself through this experience of this last year? And I would ask you this even if it wasn't a pandemic shelter in place. But in this last year, what do you think? How have you had some personal revelations?
Hmm. I would say that's a good question. This is the first year that I'm collaborating with someone after a long time, outside of like being in a collective, like musical collective, which I feel like it's and working within a collective. There's like a lot of people, and I feel like that works a little bit different. But
Yeah.
this year, my friend Jorge and I began. We created this like Twitch channel called Velvet Cloud Radio, and we've just been like really collaborating as artists. Both him and I organizing, whether it's like Twitch raids, which just means like we have like 10 DJs playing one day or something like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and it was kind of something that I haven't done in a while, just kind of being intimidated to collaborate with folks again after just having a
Mm.
bad experience in the past. And I think it's something that I've learned about myself this year has been that there's like beauty in that, and that that is there's really something that comes out of just working with someone else that has a similar vision as you, and also
Yeah.
similar like work ethic. um and so I'm glad that I've been able to be open, that I was able to
Yeah.
be open towards that again, and to see just the fruits of our labor recently has been really cool.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's cool. That's a good lesson.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. I don't ever want to be the type of person that just like has one bad experience and then just closes off completely, especially when it comes to art, because I feel like so much of art is collaboration.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's cool. Yeah, it's kind of fun. It is fun to see like when you collaborate, especially with the right people, right? It can be tough, but
Mhm.
then something even that you kind of envisioned or something is better. It goes beyond what you could do yourself, which is super cool. Hopefully,
Yeah.
sometimes those collaborations make it worse, but
No, that's also true.
you know, but yeah,
It's definitely a roll of the dice that you do. Because yeah, it's one of those things where it's like I had to, because I had this like bad experience in the past. Like I was really protective of my projects and like just
yeah,
anything that I would personally create. And so working with him, because I think we're our minds are work so similar, and just our work ethic is very much the same.
yeah,
I really had to like test that and just challenge my, I guess, just internalized like mistrust of other artists. And I'm so glad I did, because at the end of the day, like he's like such a great person, especially like a great tech person, where like I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff on Twitch that I'm able to do now without like someone that actually knows how to work interfaces, or
yeah,
different like webcams and all that stuff.
yeah, yeah. That's cool. That's awesome. And then, what's something that you're looking forward to? What's got you excited about the future?
Yeah, this past Saturday, we Cholita Vinyl Club had we had like a residency gig at the Knockout in SF, and it was my
Cool.
first time playing with CVC in like over a year. I think the last time was either February or March 2020, and so
Yeah.
we had a few like friends come out and support, and it was just kind of like it just felt like this glimmer of hope. I'm like, okay, I know that we're still like in the pandemic, but people are, more vaccinated now. Things are feeling
Yeah.
a little bit more controlled, and it just really got me looking forward to the next few months, and hopefully, things get even better and more safe, and yeah, it makes me excited to potentially be able to like play music for people to dance to in an actual
Yeah.
dance space, and for myself to even be able to dance because that's something that I
Right.
really.
Yeah. 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 That's cool. Yeah. What is something, from this last year with the pandemic that you realize like you had been doing before kind of like the shelter in place that you realize like, oh, here's something actually I'm not going to implement or have back in
Hmm.
your life?
I think I want to pace myself a bit more when it comes to, taking on projects and gigs. Because I know before I was very much the type of person that would just say yes to everything that would come my way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I feel like that kind of, even though it was really fun and I've had a lot of great experiences because of that, it also
Yeah.
made me miss a lot of just time with my family. And so
Yeah.
I don't want to fall back into that pattern. I really want to just have more of a balanced life between my work, my art, and also time spent with my family.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great lesson. So the one thing we haven't really talked about is your artwork. What do you do exactly? What medium and what's your, do you draw, you sculpt, you
Yeah, I
multimedia?
mean, I'm definitely one of those people that does a little bit of everything. Like, when actually first got connected to MACLA, I was brought on as a to teach a zine making class to the youth,
Oh, okay.
like during one of their summer sessions. I think this was like 2018.
Wow.
And at the time, I was doing like a lot of zine fairs and tabling at a lot of events, selling my zines, and that was kind of like my main thing was like putting out zines, well, also DJing, but when it came to
Yeah.
just doing like practicing art. Um, and so, and then I also do like screen printing. Um,
Cool.
I was doing painting for a while, but I haven't done like actual painting in a while, so I try not to throw that in. But yeah, I would say mostly like screen printing and prints and
Yeah.
like graphic design too.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah, I tried to like find it and Googled you, and I wasn't sure exactly, so I wanted to find out. Yeah, that's cool. All right. Well, congratulations on all the serendipitous connections that you've made. I'm sure more of those will continue to happen. Um, and with all the things you do, can you give us a rundown, kind of like of? And I'll definitely put this like in the notes and links and stuff like that. But you have a number of things you're involved in. Can you give us a little rundown and where we can find each one of those? So
Yeah, I can also send you my link tree as well.
yeah.
Um, but yeah, you can find me on Instagram by looking up Mary E Fresh. That's my DJ name.
Oh yeah, we didn't talk about that. How we didn't talk about how you got that. I saw that. I was going to ask you, how did that name come about? Did you do that, or someone else did, or?
That came from like high school. My best friend and I which I guess is where kind of my love for music began. My best friend and we're kind of just obsessed with making each other mix CDs, and we kind of still are. We still
Yeah,
send them to each other. She lives in San Diego and has lived out there for like the last 10 years, but yeah, we were. I don't know how we got into like Slick Rick and Dougie Fresh, but
yeah, yeah,
I just remember like in high school, I really wanted to learn how to beatbox, and so she started calling me Mary Fresh, and I was like, all right, cool. And I would call her Slick Rick, which well, not Slick Rick, Slick Lil. Her name's Lilia. Um,
yeah,
and it kind of just stuck when I had to like come up with the DJ name. I was like, well, this is something that someone already calls me, so I'm just gonna go with it.
yeah, yeah. That's cool. Yeah, that's cool. Okay, so on Instagram, uh, Mary Fresh, right?
hmm And you can find my mixes on SoundCloud under the same name. Very fresh. I have a website, but I'm still building it out. To be honest, I'm kind of, because I'm like still on the go a lot of the times. It's definitely one of those things where like some things don't necessarily live on the internet for me.
Yeah, yeah.
That's something that I do want to change, but at least right now, it's definitely, you know, it's one of those things where it's like my projects kind of follow me wherever I go, but not necessarily on the internet yet. Outside of my
Yeah, yeah.
mixes and things like that.
And where can people find Dear DJ
So,
to
Dear
talk
DJ,
about?
you can find us on Twitch at Velvet Cloud Radio, and that's every other Thursday. So, second Thursday of every month, and the last Thursday of every month at 7 p.m. And if
Cool.
anyone's interested in, if you need any advice or you want to dedicate a song to someone, the phone number to call is 510-214-2010. It goes straight to voicemail. You just leave a message. All calls are anonymous.
Yeah, cool.
So yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, so I thought when I saw that, I thought it was specific, like it was like questions that DJs would have, you know what I mean? But this is like open,
Yeah.
so it's just like anything, you
Yeah, it
know.
could be anything. Like I had someone call me. I didn't know who this was either, but it was like this guy that called and asked me for advice on how to deal with his baby's mom, and I was kind of like, oh, this is like really
Okay.
serious.
Yeah, wow, it could get pretty
I was
deep.
like, for the record, I'm not a lawyer.
Yeah, right. You're gonna have to have like the disclaimer, you
Mhm.
know, these are not professional lawyers. Yeah, judges. Yeah, cool. All right, Mariela, thank you very much for your time, and I look forward to seeing you at a show and dancing to your music. That would
Yeah,
be
thank
awesome.
you. Thank you. This was great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, cool.
All right. Have a good day. Bye.
Thanks. Bye. To find out more about Mariela, go to her Instagram at mari.e.fresh and also check out her online radio at twitch.tv/Velvet Cloud Radio. Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast. Follow us on social media at Content Mag. Visit our website to become a member and help us to continue to tell the stories of the local creatives. This episode's music is Tang by Chris Inman, who is featured in issue 13.2. Follow him on Spotify at Chris Inman and on Instagram at chris.inman, as well as his record label, Orange Label Records.